Now we're going to do two problems, and we're going to factor these by this method called factor by grouping. When the middle term, note the middle sign here, the sign right in the middle is a positive. Notice this one down here, the sign in the middle is a negative. When the sign in the middle, so this is our first example, when I factor this, when the sign in the middle is a positive, that's what we want. It's all ready to go. Just group the first two terms together by adding parentheses and group the last two terms together. Then you just factor each group. What can I factor out of this group? What's the greatest common factor? Well, the 2x is the greatest common factor. Well, to figure out what's left, well, 2x times x is 2x squared minus 2x times 2 gives me 4x. Okay? Now what's my greatest common factor here? I can factor out a 3. When I factor that out, 3 times x gives me 3x minus 3 times 2 gives me 6. Notice there's an x minus 2 in both of these. So when I factor that x minus 2 out, I'm left with 2x plus 3. If it's hard for you to see that, again, when I factor this out, I'm literally taking it out. And when I take that out, what am I left with? 2x plus 3. So there's the answer. Now one comment I want to make, if you were to write your answer as 2x plus 3 times x minus 2, if you change the order, it doesn't matter. Because remember, multiplication, the order doesn't matter. It's commutative. That is, 3 times 8 is the same as 8 times 3. So I could switch those, it's the same answer. Now in this problem, to factor this one, we want the sign in the middle to be a plus. Well, it's pretty easy. Subtracting, just think of like 5 minus 3, we could think of that as 5 plus a negative 3. It's the same thing. This is 2 and so is this. So subtracting 2x is the same as adding a negative 2x minus 8. It's the same thing, like I said. Now why did I do that? The reason why is because now that I have a plus in the middle, you just group the first two terms, these two, group them with parentheses, leave the plus in the middle, and group the last two terms with parentheses. Then you're right back to what we did here. Factor each group. Here I can factor out a 5x. When I do that, 5x times x gives me 5x squared plus 5x times 4 gives me 20x. Here I can factor out a negative 4. When I factor out a negative 2. Negative 2 times x gives me negative 2x. Negative 2 times 4 gives me negative 8. And now I'm right back to this situation. Factor out the x plus 4. And if you can visualize when you factor that out, what I'm left with is 5x minus 2. Again, if that's hard to see, just think I'm factoring the x plus 4 out. I'm literally taking that out. So when I take that out, what am I left with? 5x minus 2. So there's our answer. So that's the idea of group factor by this technique called grouping.